All right, so here we are with an hour of me talking over some Destiny 2 footage. Um, this has been a long time coming. I actually started recording the I recorded the video for this back in July, and it's just now I'm just now kind of sitting down to. Okay, so it's still July, but I'm guessing that by the time I've sat down and recorded enough of this, it's gonna be probably going to be August by the time I record everything and edit, because I don't have time to just sit down for a whole hour and um, talk over this footage. So I'm going to Braytech Futurescape here. This is a location on Mars. So in Destiny 1, you could also go to Mars, but you went to a different section of it. It was a completely different map. There was kind of this portal there on Mars in Destiny 1 that would take you to the final boss area of the original campaign. Basically, it was called the Black Garden, and um, you would be trying to take over. Well, you'd be trying to destroy this sort of ooze or blob, I guess, that was kind of possessing three mini bosses from earlier in the game. So you basically had three mini bosses. Okay, so I'm going here. Now there's something I'm looking for. I don't think I found it in this clip. Actually, I don't remember. But so in Destiny 2, they were like, okay, well you're going to Mars again, but this time you're going to this sort of ancient scientific facility. You can see the Warmind there in the background. Um, this ancient scientific facility with a super intelligent computer called a Warmind. Um, and there was a whole weird thing where they had to explain how the Warmind could be on Mars when there were missions in Destiny 1 where you thought you were talking to the Warmind on Earth, or you were going into vaults. You were going into the vault where the Warmind was on Earth, and they had to be like, "Oh no, no, those were just fragments of Rasputin. Those are just fragments of the Warmind from earlier. So obviously, that wasn't it." um, and it's kind of just hilarious because it doesn't make sense. And the truth of the matter is, they just wanted to kind of redo the whole thing. But the missions and the cutscenes and basically all the campaign content from Destiny 1 with Rasputin, it was actually better than the stuff they had come up with. Yeah, so I'm looking for I think I'm looking for the last data cache, maybe, or I'm looking for the room where you get the last where you get your reward for finding all of them. I think at some point the footage is going to stop moving, and that's because I looked it up, and because I just couldn't quite figure out where I was supposed to go. um, so you'll know it when you see it. I think it's fairly soon after this part. But yeah, so it was just a bad idea. They shouldn't have retconned it. They even had another Warmind they mentioned by name in some of the lore cards, and called Charlemagne. And I was like, oh, Rasputin, Charlemagne. It's like old historical figures or whatever. There's a whole theme there. And I don't know why they had to make this about. Why they couldn't have made this about Charlemagne. Why they had to. Okay, yeah, so see, I'm looking it up. I'm looking up where you have to go. Because I stopped moving. They were like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess it's because of name recognition. Because, if you played Destiny 1 and you didn't read any of the cards, any of the Grimoire cards, which had all the lore in them, you wouldn't really know Charlemagne. You'd be like, who's that? Honestly, I think that would have been much more of a hook, though. I feel like... Because then it's like, I don't even know who this is. I don't know what this thing is that we're coming towards. And the whole idea with the War Minds is kind of supposed to be that they're kind of inscrutable. Like, there's sections where they're like... let's see, there's like audio recordings, or there's like a concierge at this place who will like explain stuff to you about Clovis Bray's technology. Clovis Bray is the company that operated this research base. But yeah, so there's like a thing that'll explain it, and he'll tell you like, oh, we basically just decided, for artificial intelligence, it's basically a black box. We don't know. We don't know what it means. We don't know what it is. We just, give him rules that, he will like protect us and stuff, and we try and make it so even if we don't know how he operates, we at least know what standards he's like measuring himself by, and that's kind of the best you can do. Which is a lot like how some AI systems operate, I guess. I think that in like current present day stuff, like they do kind of just give the AI like a like a sort of, oh, this is what we're optimizing for. This is what you need to increase, by whatever means possible. Yeah, so this gun looks almost exactly like an exotic, or I guess you could say that there's an exotic version of this gun, where if you get those, you see the yellow numbers coming out of those guys. If you get those precision shots with the yellow numbers, you get 4 of them, and you can launch like an explosive round, which looks really cool. I mean, it's not very... But you'll notice I kind of just switched to the sidearm because it's pretty quick. And also because I noticed that it wasn't the right gun. Oh, am I about to die? Yeah, so there's some cool stuff about Rasputin, and the lore is pretty cool, but the content on this one was really awful, and I think everyone was kind of in agreement about it too. So yeah, and then of course the reason I'm playing this particular map is because Past Me was thinking about, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they're removing whole sections of the game, including this one actually, because the game is at like, I don't know, 80 or 90 gigabytes, or it's like, it's a huge game. They've been going for like years and years on this one. I think it's like 2 or 3, maybe 4 years. I don't know, you'll correct me if I get it wrong, but they've been going for years on this game, and they've been adding new stuff in the whole time, and that increases the file size of the game. So when you want to download it, I mean, it was already a pretty big game when it launched, so to now have all these extra maps and stuff, and to keep adding new maps, continuously, eventually they were going to have to either figure out how to compress them better, they were going to have to live with the huge file size, they were going to have to, overhaul the game, release a third one, Destiny 3, and, kind of reset things, but it seemed like they didn't want to do that, so they were like, yeah, okay, we'll just cut. We'll pull stuff out. We'll put it in a vault, and maybe we'll bring it back later once we figure out how to better manage this giant game. So yeah, so I'm like, oh, I'm archiving this for people to look at, because everybody loves this map. It's not true. People don't love this map. People don't come around here no more. I mean, you'll notice it because you won't see many other players. And this game is actually. I mean, I guess you probably know this, but it's like a multiplayer game. So you can see other people running around. Oh, I think I died this time. You can see other people like running around the map or whatever. Normally, but because this is such a wasteland, nobody bothers with it. So yeah, it's kind of the deal. So they're taking this map out. They're taking. Let's see if I can remember all the planets off the top of my head. But they're removing Mars, Io. They're taking out. What else are they taking out? Titan. Shoot, I feel like there's another one. Mercury? Is that it? Yeah, 4 planets. So they're taking out 4 planets. They're going to add Europa in November. So, hopefully that means that Europa is like a pretty big map. That it's like they decided, oh, we have to, get rid of a bunch of other ones. Hopefully there's going to be enough to do to kind of replace all 4 of those. There's going to be enough variety in it. They are leaving behind maps, actually, so it's funny because they're leaving behind maps that were in like the original Destiny 2 campaign. So that's that means that some of these maps were created, launched after Destiny 2's campaign came out, and were destroyed again. Basically, they had areas that were shorter lived than stuff they put in the original game. And when you compare them, you really do have to. There is like a ton of variety, and there is a lot of size involved in those maps. I mean, and the ones they're leaving in, like Earth. Obviously, the Earth map is pretty big because they had a lot to base it on. I think I'm looking something else up here, but they had like a lot to work with. If they making a map of Earth, it's easy because you have a point of reference. You can literally go hiking somewhere and take some pictures and get inspired and and do it that way. And with what's the other one, Nessus? It just seemed like they had, I don't know, a lot of time to work on Nessus and really kind of flesh it out and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, basically it just kind of made sense. It just kind of made sense to keep those ones. Also, I think they probably have usage data that shows that more people visit Nessus than visit like all those other planets I mentioned, like Mercury and Mars. I don't think a lot of people really visit them. Titan and Io, I'm sure people don't visit them because they're just kind of not as exciting. Titan's got like kind of a neat little area that is a little bit like Mars here, where it's like kind of an abandoned scientific base. But I think it was supposed to be like a colony or something, and then they had like research facilities in the basement. It is a cool aesthetic, and I'll probably have time to record some of it for you before it gets deleted forever. Also, I think that I'm basically just wasting time here because I don't actually recall that there was any cash data I hadn't collected here. I'm pretty sure I just kind of mucked around a little bit. Figured out that I wasn't going to be able to get 45 caches. And then, and then just sort of went and got the 35, 35, oh, that's what I'm doing now. That's where this is. Yeah, so this is the thing. You needed only 35 caches for this thing. You get this cool sword, which got sent to the postmaster because I never clear out my items. So, you know, that's something.
Every day we are finding new applications for engrams that will make your life easier.
Yeah, so this is like the
we're pushing the boundaries of computer science
concierge
by
AI.
utilizing the
That's what I was
power
talking
of
about.
the engram. Would you like to know more?
He'll like explain stuff to you about the facility or whatever. Apparently, these guys invented engrams, which are kind of like the sort of way you get loot in this game. In Destiny 1, you had to decrypt engrams all the way from the least common rarity to the most common rarity. So, like, you would decrypt something and you'd get like a weapon you already had, or you'd get you know. So basically, they're saying, oh, these guys invented those little boxes that you get all your stuff from. It's like, oh, okay, that's kind of neat. And, you know, here we are. I'm going to actually pick up the sword. So, you know, this is the director. This is where you're kind of choosing where you want to go. The postmaster is in the last city, which is on Earth. Right under the Traveler, which is that big ball that you see in all the marketing and stuff. The big ball is called the Traveler, that big white ball from Destiny. And basically it is a paracausal entity, and they don't really explain exactly what that is. It's sort of like, you know, some kind of it's like some kind of being, I guess, or like it's some kind of sentient entity, I guess, and it's got like powers, and I think it's out of phase with reality or something. And yeah, I don't know. So here I'm like trying to decide which of these Moss Epoch rocket launchers I'm going to get rid of to make space for the sword. I don't think it really matters exactly. I have a habit of just having more stuff than I will ever use, or, you know, grabbing a bunch of stuff that I won't use.
Welcome back.
So there's the sword.
Check.
And most of the time I just end up dismantling stuff. It's like even the purples, which are legendary rarity, most of the time they aren't actually that powerful either. But on the case where I do need to grab something, I have to dismantle something in my inventory.
Check. All done.
Because I'm too lazy to go to the vault, where you can store like a bajillion items.
Oh,
And also I think I
Pretty
kind
good,
of
man.
filled it up when I was playing the campaign for Destiny 2. Alright, so that, you saw that there, that was an engram being decrypted, so you still have to do that for some legendary stuff. Legendary engrams. And sometimes they'll just kind of decrypt themselves. So I ended up picking this Scorned Baron robes because I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. basically you have an infusion system that lets you make your less powerful items more powerful. You use yeah, so you just kind of dismantle that thing, you put in an upgrade module, and then it lets you do that. And the mods, I don't believe that I use the mods very often, but it basically lets you put some special effects on your armor. I think most recently I maxed out my strength stat by putting a bunch of strength mods on my armor and infusing the armor that had strength, the highest strength modifier on it. So yeah, so the energy cost, I mean, it all makes sense pretty much. You put in, you can put in a certain amount of armor, or you can put in a certain number of mods based on how much energy they take up. So, yeah, this kind of tweaking, I don't usually do this. I think I'm kind of doing it for the benefit of the recording in this one. Because most likely this system is going to get changed or deleted at some point. That's kind of the way everything is with Destiny. Stuff gets improved and all that. Well, improved, I say that. It's just stuff gets changed. Sometimes it gets better, sometimes it gets worse. So there's the sword, and it's at the same power level as my highest level thing anyway, which is kind of neat. It took me a while to figure out the ability on this one, actually. It is pretty cool. Like, you can basically teleport around. You don't teleport around. You just do one or two teleports into a fight. So you kind of zap in, swing your sword, and then at that point you're already swinging it. So you just keep on doing that, and it deals a decent amount of damage. Yeah, so that's the Traveler right there. It looks different now than it did at the beginning. They say that because it activated, I think. Or I'm pretty sure they say it's because it activated. And there's the last city. So I don't know, there's a fair amount of city down there.
The first pyramid arrived above
in the first game, it always felt like the tower was most of the city. Like the tower where the Guardians live.
It falls to the Guardians to protect.
Oh, this guy's called Zaval.
Eris is working to understand the ships.
He's talking about the event that's going on
I
right
need
now.
you on the front lines. Talk to our people on the ground. Close our ranks, Guardian, and form a fist.
Basically, he just wants you to go do some bounties for all the planets that are leaving the game. So you just go talk to all the vendors on the planets. So each planet has a vendor who gives out bounties. And it's stuff like, get 30 grenade kills, or do, 4 patrols, that kind of thing. And then you get these tokens you turn in for gear. Most of it's at level, sometimes I think it's a little bit above level. And the thing is, too, that some of your gear will not be at level. Like, not all of my helmets are going to be at, or not all of my armor is going to be at the same power level. Some of it's going to be more powerful, some of it's going to be less powerful. And so if you get lucky enough, you can replace something that isn't as powerful and increase your power level there. Yeah, so I'm gonna do a bounty on Titan, I think. I think that's where I'm off to. And Titan isn't that bad as far as planets go. I mean, like I said earlier, it's you know, you've got your right, you know, the roiling seas, and there's like, it's sort of like an oil tanker or like an oil rig or something, you know, it's got these platforms that are in the ocean. And it's all very kind of industrial. I don't think it looks half bad, really. And of course the, you know, the science facilities in the basement and that kind of thing. So here's Sloane. She's
Guardian, talk to me.
She's your standard vendor. You know, she doesn't really stand out. You know, the other vendors could be like a mad scientist or like an artificial intelligence, like, you know, like a ship's computer, or they could just be a more interesting regular person. So, but Sloane she just doesn't really have like personality. She's like the
From stores myself.
stoic,
How's you work,
stern
Guardian?
one. Yeah, so I'm gonna pick up this bounty here, and I'm not sure. I think I finished the bounty in this footage. It's gonna be a while, but I am gonna finish it. Because you have to kill. You have to kill Hive in a specific area, and I'm pretty sure what I end up doing is going to the wrong area, and then checking and being like, oh, my kills aren't registering. I guess I have to go somewhere else. Oh, oops. Yeah. I thought I could make that jump, but I couldn't. But yeah, so Titan is from the original game. You basically, the plot of the original Destiny 2 is this big, you know, oafish Cabal guy called Ghoul or Gual or something. He like comes to Earth, and he destroys. Well, no, he doesn't destroy anything. He like traps the Traveler in like this web or whatever, and that web makes it so that you don't have powers for like a mission or two, and everybody else doesn't have powers, but of course you have to have them because you know you need all your abilities and all that. You can't just fight the game with gunplay alone. Yeah, so in this one so at that point I figured out, I can't equip two exotics at the same time, so I can't have the explodey gun and the I can't have the exploding gun and the teleport sword at the same time. Also, I'm pretty sure I can't make this jump. Yeah, I can't make this jump. Oh well. Oh, he also makes it so you have to start from further back in the level. For one level. So, because of the big, because he threw a net over the Traveler, it can't, like, give you all your powers and make you come back from the dead or whatever. So then everybody else, they don't, like, get their powers back. So for the rest of the campaign, they're like, oh, I could die. Like, I could actually die. I've been living for hundreds of years, you know, because of this, because of the Traveler. But now I could actually die. So there's like a lot of stakes for them, um, which is, you know, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It would be, and actually, you know, there are characters you care about. It is kind of tense watching the glossy cutscenes where they're fighting um, into the city to like take the Traveler back or whatever, take the tower back. Um, yeah, so like with that thing, it's an exploding enemy. I can't do anything. Like I should have probably just switched weapons and backed off a little bit, but I wasn't gonna do that. I wasn't gonna do something sensible like that. Now I could go into the encounter with a different weapon, but yeah. So, anyways, so like all the other characters, they were like, "Oh, I gotta be careful because I can't, you know, come back to life. Can't come back from the dead." And that was kind of a serious thing. Boy, why was I talking about that though? Oh yeah, cause so that was like the basis of the game of Destiny 2, right? That was the basic plot of the game. So you basically go from planet to planet, talking to different people, and seeing how they're reacting to being uh, able to die again. And so for Titan, you go here, and actually the guy I was talking to earlier, Zavala, Zavala's hanging out here in Titan on Titan. He's like, we're gonna use, you know, he's like, we're gonna hang out on Titan. We're gonna, you know, we're gonna plan out our mission where we take back the tower and everything, take back the Traveler. And so, you know, you have a couple of missions on Titan where you just fight a bunch of Hive, which is an enemy faction in the game. They're like evil space bugs or something. Yeah, so and then after a while, like, you know, they're like, Zavala, the Titan is a horrible place to plan anything because you can't plan stuff while you're still trying to while you're basically fighting off all these bug creatures all the time. So why don't we go somewhere else? And so you go somewhere else. You talk to Cade Six, R.I.P. But anyway, so you talk to Cade Six, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you know, I'm down to blow some stuff up, totally." Um, and then he's like, "Yeah, so like, the last planet you gotta go to is Io." He just tells you where to go, and so you go to Io, and then you talk to Ikora, who's the so basically those three characters, they're like the Vanguard, um, which is kind of like a governing body, I guess. Yeah, yeah. So they're like a governing body for the whole city. You know, there's three of them. One of them's a Titan, one of them's a Warlock, and one of them's a Hunter. So that they represent the three classes of the game. And then, you know, when you boy, I can't even talk today. Jeez. Ugh. Okay. So when you go back to the tower, like you'll talk to your Vanguard, or at least that was how the original game was designed. You would go talk to your Vanguard, and they would like give you the next step of the quest or whatever. Um, or sometimes they might have some gear for you. But in this game, they don't really. And they can't because not everybody has a Vanguard anymore because one of them died. But anyways, so you go and you talk to Ikora, who's the Warlock Vanguard. And she's like, yeah, I mean, like, we could do a resistance, but, you know, we could all die. Except for you, I guess. And so, you know, she's like, fight some Taken on this planet for me, then I'll do it. And so then on Io, you fight a bunch of Taken. And you stop this drill and that the Cabal are using to like drill into the center of the planet or whatever. I don't remember why they want to do it. I think they're like looking for something. They're looking for something the Traveler left there. But anyways, oh, look at that. There's a little thing to investigate. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do it. So here's the billowing seas. No, that's not the right word. The roiling seas of Titan.
This receiver is pointing
There they
to the
are.
fallen homeworld, light years away, but it hasn't picked up any messages. Just silence.
And you may notice that I'm kind of collecting Alkane here. That's like the currency you use here on Titan. So basically you hand this currency into Sloane, and then she'll give you some weapons and armor and stuff. But anyway, oh, and this was funny. This was weird. I noticed this weird little graphical glitch where I was like running. I was running with the gun and it had like a transparency effect on it. Like you saw that, right? I couldn't replicate it though. Oh, that's right. I have the exotic equipped that gives me 2 melee attacks. Thing is, your melee attack, either it's powerful enough that you don't need to do it twice to get rid of somebody, or, you know, it's not powerful enough to get rid of them. So then, you know, you never actually use it. I think that guy's got me. Yep. Yep, he's got me good. See, look at that. You just teleport. Pretty sick. So the idea behind Titan was they were supposed to be like colonizing it and building like a scientific base on it. But of course they didn't end up doing that. Or, well, so they did end up doing it, but then, you know, it got overtaken probably during the collapse, which is when darkness came in and wrecked everything and, you know, disabled the Traveler and killed a lot of people. I guess. So yeah, you're pretty standard plot, you know, light versus darkness. That's the basic idea in this game. And all the factions you fight have different relationships with the darkness. So like the Hive kinda the Hive are like a species with parasites in them, basically. So like they were originally this regular species, but then they got like space worms in them, and so the worms, require them to do stuff. I forget what the basic thing was, but like one of them. So they were like three main hive guys that like one of them, has to always be learning, or else the worm will eat her. One of them always has to be conquering, or else the worm will eat him. That kind of thing. So like the worms feed on stuff that their hosts do, I guess, which is an interesting enough idea. They never explain it in the main game, obviously. I mean, this is stuff in the lore. Although there is a lore tab on the menu. I never use the lore tab. So that's the hive. The Vex are like weird. They're like robots that worship the darkness, I guess. So that's kind of their deal. The Fallen, I guess they're not really agents of the darkness, really. They used to be, so like the Traveler was helping them the way it's helping humans now, and then it just kind of ran off. And I think a bunch of them got injured by the darkness, when it came for them, and the Traveler wasn't there to protect them. So that's like the Fallen. So they want the Traveler back, actually. But they're not going to get it. And then is that all of them? Oh, the Cabal. I don't think the Cabal are agents of darkness either, really. I mean, like, they're just like a big military force that just kind of wants to destroy stuff, or wants to, like, once they're done once they're done harvesting a planet for useful resources, they just blow it up, and they will put a bomb on the sun and explode the sun. It shouldn't really be possible. I'm not really clear on how that works either. But anyways, that's kind of beside the point. So Titan was supposed to be this, this shining colony for humanity, but instead, the hive got to it, and it's all in disrepair now. Oh well. And then, of course, it's all going to get removed by Bungie in the next update. I mean, it's still a ways out. There's plenty of time to kind of enjoy this in this area, which is what we're doing here. The other thing about the enemies in this game is they're not very smart, and you can basically just run past them if you don't want to fight them. I mean, the combat is just really fairly enjoyable, though, so you don't end up wanting to run past them most of the time. Right. So I think at this point, I figured out that I was in the wrong area and my kills weren't registering towards the finishing the bounty. That's really too bad, because it just like doubled how long I had to do all this stuff. But you see what I mean, though, right? Like, it's a fun little oil rig-ish area. There's all these platforms and pipes and stuff. I think there might have been some kind of resource they wanted to use on this planet. or when it got terraformed, there was some reason they picked it over like, because Titan, like Saturn and Jupiter, they've got like tons of moons. Like you really could have picked any of them. And in fact, they are going to Europa later. So in that respect, they kind of are picking a different one. They're gonna replace everything with Europa. Well, not everything. But they're gonna replace a bunch of planets with just Europa. So it better be a pretty big and in-depth map. I'll definitely be exploring that when it comes out. Oh no! Oh, this flipping thing. This particular spot is just a trap. You can't see very well, and so you're just kind of bound to fall under the platforms, because you just don't know. You just can't tell. So you're gonna see. I'm gonna like kind of be more careful. There we go. So you can block stuff with the sword too, although it still does damage, it just does less damage. It's pretty neat weapon. But there's nothing in here either, really. Oh wait, no, there is something here. Yeah, for some reason that vault is unlocked. I don't really understand why or what you're supposed to do in it. It's kind of interesting, really. Not a ton to see, really, but there are more enemies. And this thing, which I still don't really know what it does. I'm pretty sure what I ended up doing was kind of looking this up. Because I ended up just finding out that it was some kind of long quest, or you had to do strikes or something, and I just didn't want to do that in the middle of what I was already doing. You may notice that I have a ton of quests, actually, that I haven't done yet, and this game just hands them out like candy. Like, there's so many different ones. A lot of them are for exotic weapons, but yeah, it's just the way it is, I guess. You just kind of find stuff. Speaking of finding stuff.
Looks like the Fallen tried to chain it closed. A for effort, guys, but I'm not sure this is how we're going to beat the Hive.
It's a fun time. But I think around this point is when I started to get really tired, because I was trying to finish the bounty before I stopped recording, and it ended up just taking longer than I thought it would. I ended up having to kind of run around and wait for the enemies in this particular area to respawn, which was, you know, quite a and you almost, I would almost think that they wanted me to take more time on this, like they wanted me to do some of it one day and then check back another day, or do some of it earlier and then check back on it later. Just something like that. Oh, I mistook that person for Fallen, but it wasn't. It was just a regular person.
The enemy has a plan of their own. What they don't realize is I'm 3 steps ahead. Details attached.
She's 3 steps ahead. So yeah, when you pick up a patrol, the vendor on the planet will say something about what you're doing, or they'll make some kind of remark anyway. And what I've found is the most charming ones are probably on Nessus, you know, because Failsafe has a lot of Failsafe is the AI. She has a lot of personality, so. Yeah, so that, you know, even if the quests are largely the same, like kill a certain number of enemies or whatever. Oh, look at that, I got an Umbral Engram. Umbral Engrams are this season's special engram, so basically, instead of decrypting them normally, you have to choose which loot pool you want to draw from. So like you can get, you know, old weapons, you can get new armor, you can get new weapons. There's like a couple of different sets, and it'll tell you, you know, what's in the set, what you could get from this engram, which is kind of neat, I would say. It's certainly something of an improvement, because now you can you have some kind of choice over what weapon or armor you're gonna get when you open this new engram. And I think most of the time the Umbral ones actually are more powerful too, so they'll give you better stuff than just a standard engram. Boy, I've got that Taylor Swift song stuck in my head. Oh boy. Oh, I did it! Look at that! I did the thing! Finally. So the other thing is, the bounties, you don't actually have to turn them in. See, look at that. Exit is focused Umbral Engram. That's what I mean. Like, it becomes a focused engram. Sometimes you'll get a focused engram like that, but other times you have to go focus it yourself. So it's, it's just a really interesting... It's an interesting new way to get loot. And I'll probably miss it when they replace it with the next way to get loot. Because this game is ever changing and ever evolving. If you want something static, you gotta go for Destiny 1. Because they stopped changing it. They stopped changing it like... What is that, 3 years ago? Yeah, something like that. 3 or 4 years ago. They still keep it up though. All the servers are still running for Destiny. Or, well, maybe not all the servers, but there are still servers running for Destiny 1. I almost wonder how much of the game really requires the servers anyway, but like maybe it just kind of checks in to make sure that you own it, or it gives you like a code to open the game or something. There's no way of knowing that, of course. Oh gosh, did I really go to Io and actually try and do that bounty too? Boy, maybe I wasn't tired. Or you know what, maybe I noticed I was tired after I picked up the bounty. One thing I would like to see in the new DLC though, I want to see the ships do something. I want to be able to fly my ship. And, I think if they were gonna have you be able to do stuff with your ship, they probably would have showed it in like the teaser trailers or whatever. As it stands, I doubt that's gonna be in there.
I'm ready.
Because if you think about it, they would have to basically put a whole new system in the game. I mean, the vehicles you can drive now, there's stuff like Sparrows or ground vehicles, basically. Yeah, so I probably took one look at that thing and said,
Don't stay on my
no, I'm not going to do 60 ability kills on this. I'm not going to do that. Like, I'll do some. So the basic idea with Io was, the Traveler, like, went and terraformed it right before going to Earth. It was the last place the Traveler touched. That's how they describe it in the campaign. So, kind of cool. These are the Vex. They're the robots. They basically, what they do to planets is fill it with more Vex and like computers and stuff. Like they're trying to build, they are basically computers, basically sentient computers that can, walk around. So they want more computers so they can, better simulate everybody else's reactions and figure out what's going to happen next. Which is, it's not really a bad goal. It's just that it's going to mess up the biodiversity and everything. Like it's not going to be ideal, basically. So I think I ended up not being able to kill that. Or maybe I did get rid of it. I just had to gear up or something. Or somebody else got it. Yeah, well, that guy didn't get it. So see, a bunch of other people were also shooting at that guy. because he was carrying a chest. Isn't that neat? Oh, I guess the other thing about this season is there's like a public event where you're trying to get messages from the darkness, but for some reason, Savathun is trying to stop you. I think she was one of those hive dudes. She's got like her worm wants like, well, I think either chaos or knowledge, but something like that. So she has to constantly be causing chaos or learning new stuff. You know, I don't remember. Also, this guy's invincible, I guess. Yeah, so I'm not really sure what you're supposed to do in that situation. But I guess it's not important. Let's see, how much longer do we have? Oh, we're almost done. We're almost done. Almost home safe. So in closing, I guess I did have time to sit down for, not exactly an hour, but 45 minutes. I did record one section earlier than the other section. But other than that, I mean, I really didn't have much time. Thanks for watching. Go ahead and subscribe. Usually the way I do things, there's 1 or 2 videos together. I don't usually just put one video out. If I make one, usually you can be reasonably sure I'm going to make another one.